So good morning, everyone. I'm Bobby, and I'm Chief Technology Officer at DAI. I'm going to keep this interactive and lively, so those who know me know that I like talking about helping individuals and staff and people really get to where they want to achieve in life. So I have a question for each one of you. And one of that question has to do with, do you really believe ideas can change the world? Hands up. All right, I'm in the right place. Perfect. Okay. Now, there are other people who believe just as you do. What does Campbell Soup, Mennonites, L'Oreal, the hair care products, I don't have any, but hair care products, Tyson's Foods, Kellogg's cereal, if you notice this food theme, yeah? AAA, when my car breaks down, what do these companies, these organizations have in common? What's that? Ideas, yes, yeah. And this is the second hottest topic in development. It's the second hottest topic. They're creating their own social impact investment funds within their own companies. They're creating their own resources to invest in new ideas, in new startups, in new ways of doing things, because they see that it adds value to not their client, but also to their bottom line and helps them grow their business. They're looking at trying to create new R&D for the future. So L'Oreal, is investing in startup companies around selfies. You take a selfie, and at the same time, you can put your lipstick on and your makeup and see what it's like. Or if you're, with Tyson's Foods as well. So all these new, traditional old companies are trying to tie up now with new innovators like yourself and social entrepreneurs to tap into the mindset, the brain that you have. So I'm really excited about this. The question becomes, as well, what about NGO groups? So faith-based organizations, the Mennonites, who are very traditional, they have started an investment group as well. Mercy Corps, theirs has been around a while. Of course, as DAI, we have an innovation challenge. What we're seeing is college, high school students are now doing social impact investment. And I'll show you an example of that. The best part, and I want to ask in this audience, who is an angel investor? Who's an angel investor? Can you raise your hand? Oh, I'm hoping, I see maybe one. Okay, hopefully I have one. Why I like angel investors? These are people who have their own sources of funding and money in those deep pockets, right? Those are these deep pockets individuals. And that's very important if you're a social entrepreneur. That's very important. So there's a number of angel investment networks where they get together and they have coffee and they say, hey, let's invest in this company and let's invest in that company. And there's a number of them. Sidecar is another one. There's a few of them here in the RDU area. But the place that I like is called the Friends and Family, FNF money. So if you have a great idea and you're asking people to invest, you have to be able to convince your friends and families first. And that's what they want to see, right? This is sort of the insight and advice. If you've got a tremendous idea to change the world, but you can't convince your own friends and family, then what does that say about how it will take up and have traction? So a lot of social impact investors look for that first. How much your own skin is in the game. There's a number of these networks out there, and so afterwards, during the micro labs, happy to share what those are. Not just US. I live in India. I live in Zambia. I live in Kenya. Bobby, how do I access the money? It's available. The funding is there. Whether or not it's Bango Hive in Zambia, Vilagro in Kenya, they're willing to fund great entrepreneurs who have wonderful ideas. Universities, Duke, of course, UNC, NCCU here. In fact, the state of North Carolina has its own innovation challenge fund as well. So what I'm trying to demonstrate to you is this shift that's been happening around where the sources of funding are. But now there's a problem. And here's what I've seen in my experience. I sit on a number of boards, and I'm a board advisor to nonprofits. There's a huge gap between women and men who actually receive this funding. Unfortunately, your idea isn't enough, and that's a sad fact. 58% of males, white males, actually the ones who receive the funding. If it's led by a minority, 25% actually receive a deal. And so there's a Halo report that actually has some statistics around who receives this money, not the idea, but who actually receives the money for their idea. And so, the worst, the absolute worst, unfortunately, are these traditional venture capitals, these VC people. We should say boo, VC. The reason is they only fund 2% of women, founders and leaders who have companies. Yeah, boo. So that's why I'm really excited about companies and organizations and NGO groups who are creating these investment vehicles, because that's now an alternative source for us to go to. Unfortunately, there's another factor. So you have your idea. Now you're a founder, you're a woman, you're a man, you're a man. There's another factor. The questions they ask you are very different. So they ask, for example, if you're a man, the investors line up, behind their suits, and they ask you, how do you plan to grow your company? And you're able to respond as a man, okay, yeah, we're going to have increased growth, ROI, IRR. But when you're a woman, they ask the question much more defensively. They ask, instead of growing that hockey stick, they ask, what are you going to do to defend your position in the market? Right? So there's a HBR study that just recently published about the types of questions investors ask are very different from men to women. So when the women are founders as well. So again, there's this inherent unfortunate bias that's still in the investment community. But you'll say to me, okay, I'm working full-time. I have a family. I'm a student. How can I possibly, fulfill my idea? So there is a number of social impact institutes, one of them is Founders Institute, that allow you to work full-time, to go to school full-time, and still be a social entrepreneur in the evenings, weekends, but they take a percentage of their revenue, of course, but it still allows you to answer the question of, am I a risk-averse person? Meaning, I've got this great idea. Am I going to quit my job, give up my 401k, give up my health plan for my family, and I have 2 kids to pursue this idea? And that's a hard concept, right, for people who are trying to get into this field. So by having an opportunity to do this, and learn how to do it part-time or in the evenings, is a way to sort of achieve that, making things part-time friendly. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of insight as to, okay, you've given your social pitch, you've got your great idea, and they tell you, okay, now the judges and the innovators, they're going to discuss about you. What do they say? Here's what they say. Here's what we say. Oh, that's not a compelling idea. I've seen that before. Who's going to pay for that? So all these types of questions that you didn't think that people will ask, those are the ones we ask, right? So they're really good about finding that. Even better, I've been a part of a number of innovation challenges where the judges are standing on the table, full-throated, I like this idea. And the other judge, I love this idea, but there's only one prize. So what do? So they pass the hat, and each judge has to pony up $25K to create a new prize. So what I'm demonstrating, and they call it the director's prize. Why am I saying that? It's because if you have a compelling enough idea, the funding will find you, right? I've been in the rooms twice so far where we created new prizes just because the ideas were so compelling. Now, here's about the ideas that I just want to provide a little bit of insight. If all you have is then everything, of course, is a nail. So let's go to a buzzword bingo. I'm going to give you 80% of the social pitches that I've heard in the past 3 years, okay? Let me see if this resonates with you. So I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm going to pitch for money. I have an innovative solution that uses artificial intelligence and machine learning in order to use big data to rest on the blockchain and report up into a dashboard. Right? I have no idea what the solution is. You have no idea what the problem is, but you're able to string together all the right buzzwords, right? So we see this a lot. So I would urge you also during this conference, to sort of, really discern what people are saying when they bring up these topics. The second part to that is, where do you go? So if you're a woman, there's a number of women-funded investment groups that I'm really a strong supporter of. Women Who Have Startups. I'm part of the Aetna Foundation Innovation. It's to provide funding for underserved communities. We target only underserved communities in the US. So if you've got a great idea and you want to do it in the rural populations in North Carolina or urban populations, this funding is specifically for that as well. So again, there's places that you can actually access those types of fundings. So what are the trends I've seen so far? And again, this is just my, three words of, I'm starting to see a lot more universities, undergraduate students, become part of the innovation pitch, right? Where they're the ones not just pitching, but deciding on who's going to receive money. So and this is really, you know, in the old days, it was just the VCs, and then, okay, I showed you the corporations. Now it's going down to the universities, so MBAs and undergraduates, and now high schools. So high school level students are now being able to ask you, please, tell me about your ROI. Tell me how you're going to show return on investment. I'm on a fund in which, in the state of Connecticut, in which we're helping high school students to create an innovation and challenge fund at the high school level. So imagine what type of pitch, social pitch you'll need to have if they're starting at the high school level, then college, and then you're getting out into the working world. So yours has to be really good as well. The other part I'm seeing a lot of, and this is just my experience, of course, blockchain, AI, conferences. That's the big money. Putting on conferences around these things. So every other week, you get an email. Oh, there's a blockchain conference. There's an AI conference. There's a 10-hour conference. That's where the real money is, as opposed to actual solution. Traditional players are trying to, you know, innovate, and I mentioned that earlier. So what we're trying to do is look at what are the gaps in the market. So we've also created a coding school to help underserved minorities, women, returning veterans, because one of the gaps are, I'm a great PhD student. I'm a UNC professor. I've got this great idea, but I'm not going to spend my time developing an app or developing some software. How do I go about doing that? And so what we're doing is creating a coding school to help, you know, sort of meet that market need as well. So again, I'm asking, do you believe ideas have the power to change the world? I believe it as well, along with, you know, the person that I really admired, which was Robin Williams, you know, also believed in that. So I thank you very much for your time and just sharing this experience with me. Thank you.